So WCCF Tech is saying, beware, several used NVIDIA GeForce RTX 30 graphics cards with defective memory modules being sold after being abused in crypto mining. Now, for a while, a lot of people have been trying to convince me of the copper mod stuff. And I've been saying, I don't want to do that because that puts undue pressure on the PCB, which could spell out damage to it later on. Look, if you want to do it and you're getting full mining performance, I'm all for it. I would rather go all in on some sort of liquid immersion or liquid cooling in general before I did that. Primarily because you have a lot of potential for damage to the hardware. Not only do you have to worry about shorting out the hardware while you're doing it, which is why I don't recommend other people do it, but the other issue that you can run into is whenever you put additional weight on that PCB and you're pressuring down on it, unless the specifications are very, very, very good, which is extremely hard to do with that. And I know, like, Cool My GPU, all you guys are doing great work. I'm not like slamming on anybody or anything. It's just you're putting extra weight on that PCB. You can cause some damage to it. Is that where all of this damage is coming from? Let's go ahead and find out what they're referring to. The crypto crashes resulted in several mining operations offloading their graphics cards into the reseller marketplace. But while these GPUs will be available at dirt cheap prices now, some users are already finding various issues, such as the memory modules being defective. Well, this was to be expected. The GPU mining flood is already here, and there are several resale sites that have currently listed the entire range of the 30 series graphics cards well below their MSRPs. So you got 3060 Ti's going for $300 to $350. The Chinese and Asian markets are currently being flooded with such graphics cards, but the very first users who are buying these cards are finding several issues. A user over at nga.cn forums recently paid 3,600 RBM or $536 US for a 3080 GPU. This graphics card is currently listed at Newegg for $1,100 and is a premium model. So paying half the price for a used variant doesn't sound like a bad deal. Even compared to the MSRP of $699, it sounds like a solid deal. However, the reason for such a low price for the graphics card was quickly found by the user. The user noticed that all labels from the screws had been removed, which means that the card had been taken apart at some point. This should be expected as the initial 30 series graphics card had major heating issues and thermal pads had to be replaced manually by users to achieve better memory temperatures on the GDDR6X modules. Since these cards have been used in crypto mining operations, they could have undergone multiple repad placements during their mining lifetime. They most certainly did, right? What's interesting is he didn't actually take the card apart. I'd be curious to know if, yeah, he didn't take the card apart. If you guys want to send it to me, that'd be awesome. I'm curious to know, what the pads are, how good the placement is and all that. But that isn't the major problem. The user also discovered that in GPU-Z, the RTX 3080 graphics card, which is supposed to have 10 gigabytes of memory, only showed up with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. The 3080 launched in two flavors, a 10 gigabyte model with a 320-bit bus, and a 12 gigabyte model with a 384-bit bus. There was no in-production variant that featured 8 gigabytes of VRAM across the 256-bit bus, and the reason why this card featured a lower memory was discovered to be defective memory modules. Considering just how bad these graphics cards have been abused in mining operations, it looks like at some point 2 of the 10 GDDR6X memory modules gave away and ended up not functioning at all. Now, here's the deal. He didn't take the GPU apart. You could probably, or potentially, right, reflow it maybe, or at worst case, right, or even just replace the thermal pads, get the thermals in check on those memory modules, and they'd come back to life. If they're just shutting down due to heat because they aren't actually being properly cooled, that might be not as big of a problem as they're making it out to be. There is a lack of due diligence here, and I just want to make that clear, but it is kind of funny that you have this shot of the 3080 going over a 256-bit bus and 8 gigabytes of video memory. Pretty funny. Considering how, okay, so let's finish this up. It does result in the card failing to post, but there's already a bypass that allows users to continue using their graphics cards even if a few memory modules have died. This is achieved through the memory shielding method, which is very popular in crypto mining, and miners can continue using the cards despite some modules having died out. A video on this method from Billuby can be seen below. We are going to save this because I did not know that you could do that, and that is pretty sick. It's in Chinese, but maybe we can figure it out and do an English version. The same process not only works for the RTX 3080 graphics card, but almost any other graphics card. And considering that the 3080 isn't even the most popular card for mining, there could be several used cards in the reseller market right now that might have similar modules and masked to show the full VRAM configuration in GPU-Z, another popular method to trick users. As such, it is advised to stay away from all used graphics cards for now, regardless of how enticing these deals look. And as the user himself puts it, finally, don't buy a mining card, never buy it, and don't buy even if you just need it. There are some caveats here. Obviously, as miners, we are looking for these deals anyways. So, you know, you take a chance anytime you're buying used. Like I said, you could maybe try to reflow the card. You could take a look and make sure that the memory modules are being cooled. If the memory modules are completely failed out, obviously that's a problem. I doubt that it'll be all of them. I'm surprised to learn about this bypass. That's cool to know about. I haven't had any 3080s have memory modules completely die out on me. I haven't even had the 3090s have memory modules completely die out on me yet. So it's kind of interesting to hear that that is a problem. Kind of felt like that might be an issue as we mine on these more and more, especially if you don't get them properly cooled. And it's an interesting thing to learn. So every day we're learning something. Now there are several ways to make the rest of the memory work again by replacing the modules entirely. This has already been done by professionals, but that would mean you have to end up paying for another graphics card with the same memory modules, which defeats the whole point of paying cheap in the first place. So instead of getting into trouble with the used graphics card, just avoid them at all costs. I disagree. I don't think you should avoid them at all costs, and I think that clearly this is a 30 series issue. Probably a 30 series issue about with GDDR6X memory modules in particular, because they're the ones that are overheating. So even going down below that, like 3070s with GDDR6 and the non-X, I'm pretty sure are probably going to be okay, right? The 3060 Ti's probably going to be okay. If we go to the Radeon side, the RX 6000 series, probably all going to be okay. This is a single case. It is funny that they take a single case, but then use the term that a whole bunch of people, the users in plural, are finding this, but they only have one particular case to report on. So take it with a grain of salt, in my humble opinion. I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Crypto Mining Morning Show every Monday through Friday, 7:45 a.m. Pacific and 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time. You can check out more clips here, or if you're interested in checking out the entire live show, you can check that out down here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.